too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
And I am really excited today to have the honor and pleasure of having a conversation with a brother for whom I have tremendous respect. Chris Broussard is a well-respected journalist. He is on it's Fox Sports, right? Make sure I say that.
Fox Sports, yep.
Yeah,
I do a radio show called The Odd Couple on Fox Sports Radio, and then I'm on at Fox Sports 1 television network on all the TV shows.
All right, and most importantly, my brother Chris is a man of integrity. I've seen Chris take on the firestorm head on, and he didn't buckle, he didn't fold. He wasn't on his knees apologizing the next day, and for that I've always respected him. And so first of all, I want to ask my brother Chris, how you doing today, man?
I'm great, man. I'm great. It's great to be on, man. You've been doing some awesome stuff. You know, I've seen Ice Cube, I've seen Judge Joe Brown, I've seen Claude Anderson. I mean, you've been putting some great stuff together lately, man. And I really value what you're doing on your network because it's much needed.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And the feeling's entirely mutual. You know, I think it's, you know, I was looking forward to talking to you, man, because I feel like right now, you know, the men are talking. You know, like you know, everybody else is talking. Now the men are talking, and so you know that would include Judge Joe Brown and Claude Anderson and Ice Cube and everyone else, and a lot of brothers and strong women in the community are feeling some kind of way right now because. We're in the middle of a heated political situation. We can just begin with Ice Cube, you know, a guy that both of us have worked with, you know, on some level. And Ice Cube goes to the Democrats with a contract with Black America that he worked with a team of individuals to put together. It wasn't just him, it was yourself and a lot of other people who were very, very bright. And he went to the Biden camp. They kind of blew him off a little bit. They didn't really take it seriously. So then he said, okay, because I represent Black people, I'm going to go over to the other side because racial healing is a bipartisan issue. It's not something where we can only talk to one side or the other. At least that's his assessment. And then there was all the pushback. A lot of what I saw to be propaganda, you know, like, oh, well, who's this rapper? Who said he's qualified to put together this plan? And so let's just start with that so people can have facts and information. When people say, you know, that when they act like Ice Cube just woke up one morning and said, let me just write a plan for Black America. I know that's not true. You know that's not true. Explain to people what you know about the process in terms of how that plan was actually constructed.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, anybody that looks at the plan, the contract with Black America, you can see that it was well thought out. And it was put together with a team of people, not just Ice Cube's own brainchild. I mean, obviously he was a huge part of it, but he put some time into this. This wasn't, you know, just something he threw together. And the ironic thing, as you mentioned about the Democrats, they were critical, so critical of, say, Laura Ingraham and that people of that ilk for telling LeBron James, shut up and dribble. And rightly so, they should have been critical of her, right? But they essentially told Ice Cube, shut up and rap. That's really what they did. When they say, oh, you're not qualified, you coming out of nowhere, who are you? They told him, shut up and rap or entertain us. And so I thought that was very ironic that that's the tack that they kind of took, even though they were nice about it and we'll do it after the election and all that. But as far as going back to how the whole thing got started, I'm not exactly sure what sparked Ice Cube to start thinking about the contract with Black America. I think it was just concern over our community. I mean, obviously, throughout his career, he's shown concern for the Black community, you know, from F the Police all the way up to his positive movies that he's made. And, you know, I think he's just trying to looking at this situation and sick of every 20 years or so, we have to revolt. You know, we did it in the 60s. We did it in the early 90s. We're doing it now because justice has not been served, not only by the police force and the criminal justice system, but economically and educationally. So I think that's what led him to start putting it together. What happened was myself and a group of other men I was working with, most notably a guy named Rob Jones, who worked on Wall Street and who is now owns his own financial consulting firm. We put together something called Neo-Reconstruction. And it was based on, you know, of course, that right out of slavery, the Republican Party created Reconstruction. And that was, you know, the federal government's troops were in the South to enforce it. Blacks were giving civil rights, voting rights, the same things we had to go get again in the 1960s. We had those in the 1860s and 70s. And it was a time where things were looking up for us. We had 2,000 elected Black officials and, you know, congressmen, senators, things like that. And so it ended after 8 to 10 years, of course, and then Jim Crow came in, and obviously the rest is history. So we said, look, it's time for a new Reconstruction. So the term Neo-Reconstruction. And not only, again, in the criminal justice system, but economically and educationally, because we think it's just going to keep happening if we don't deal with those issues. So we put together our Neo-Reconstruction plan. And as we were finishing it up, I saw that Ice Cube released his contract with Black America. And I know him from, you know, meeting him at Fox, and he's been on my radio show, and, you know, I've interviewed him a few times for different things. And so I reached out to him and I said, look, I love your contract with Black America. We're doing something called Neo-Reconstruction that's very similar. Let's rap about it. So we both started getting together, his team with our team, and we started talking about it. And Roland, you've looked at the contract with Black America. What they both really are reparations with different language, but they're reparations. And we both feel strongly that that's really the answer for our current plight at, you know, the race situation in this country from both sides. Whites will never get over white guilt or this white fear of, you know, a Black backlash. If we ever get in power, that we're going to try to do the same thing they did to us. They'll never get over that until they really give us what they should, you know, and we'll never get over this tension that we have with America until there's a reckoning. It's like if I came to your house, Boyce, and stole your car, and then a week later I come back and I'm sorry, man, my bad. You know, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm sorry, I really am. But I never gave you the car back. And I'm driving the car and I'm being nice to you. I'm seeing you. Hey, what's up, man? I'll give you bus fare. You don't have a car, I'll give you bus fare. Or I'll pick you up even. If you need a ride to work, I can pick you up occasionally. All that's well and good, right? But there's going to be an issue. There's going to be tension. You're going to be looking at me sideways until I give you the car back or buy you a new one or something like that. That's just how it is. And that's the racial issue in America. We looking at white America sideways, as we should, because they've never paid us back. It took them till when? 2009 even apologize for slavery? And to me, the Democrats are kind of like the ones, they're being nice. Oh yeah, I'll pick you up. You need a ride? I'll give you bus fare. You need to get to work, but they're not giving us the car back, you know? And so I really think that reparations in some way, shape, or form is in order. I don't think it's nearly as complicated as people try to make it. I'm not saying it's simple, but you know, that's an excuse. It's not that complicated. They've given reparations to all other groups. They did the Marshall Plan for Germany after World War II. So they can do something if they want to. So both things are like reparations. So we started working with Cube. We said, look, you can use Neo-Reconstruction. You can incorporate it into the contract with Black America. And so we still doing our thing, working on that. And he's pushing the contract. And what happened was, you know, Ice Cube is smart, man. I mean, you obviously can just look back at his days at NWA and when he left to know he's a master marketer at getting his, I mean, the big three, all that. He can get his message out. And so after the Democratic National Convention, he went on and he said, you know, he did a video on Instagram and social media saying, what's in it for us? What are we getting out of this? I ain't hear them mentioning black people. I ain't hear them talking about what they're going to do for us, what they're going to give us. And we need to demand something of our vote. Got over 2 million hits. And then both the Democrats and Republican Party reached out to him. And as you said, the Democrats were kind of like brushed it off. We'll talk to you after the election. This is good, but you know, we're not doing anything right now. And the Republicans reached out and were more open to what he was suggesting and what he was talking about. And that's kind of where the situation stands. And again, he's not endorsing Donald Trump. I'm not endorsing Donald Trump, but we're both saying we should demand. I actually think, Boyce, black people it's late now because we've kind of wasted this time, but black people are really in a great position politically in this election, or we could have been, because the Democrats don't have a chance without the black vote. I mean, they don't have a chance unless they get 80% or 85% of the black vote, if not more. And so we need to say to them, and this is how Q feels as well, we need to say to them, if you don't give us this, this, and this, then we're not voting for you. We're not saying we voting for Donald Trump, but we're not voting for you. And they would have no choice but to give us what we asked. But we're not making any demands. And look, obviously I cover the NBA. I'm very supportive of the players. And I think what they did in the bubble, speaking out against social injustice, was great. I love LeBron James more than a vote, you know, campaign that he has. But it bothers me that we have seen not just the athletes, but the black community in general has adopted the posture and the view that all we need to do is get Trump out. Like once Biden is president, it's all good. And we can relax and everything will be great. And it's all, we've solved it. You know, Black Lives Matter, it's all. And I'm saying, hold up. I mean, not that I want Trump in or whatever, but this was happening. Unarmed black people were getting shot down under Barack Obama. The Black Lives Movement actually started under Barack Obama. Think about that. We had a black president and we needed a Black Lives Matter movement. And so I fear that if Biden wins, we're going to, as a people, we're going to relax, exhale, and think we're all good. Man, we got through that tragedy. No, it was going on during Obama, during Clinton, during Bush, both Bushes, right? Like, come on. And so that's what's disconcerting to me. And we have to know whether it's Trump again, whether it's Biden again or Biden, we still have to be building. We still have to be making demands. And I'll just wrap up with this on this point. I don't like the way the Democratic Party is treating us, because I think they're treating us like children, you know, and we're buying into it. So they just doing what they think is going to work. But when I see memes of Kamala Harris in Timberlands, and we all excited because she wearing Timberland boots. I mean, really? When I see, you know, them being interviewed by Cardi B and this and that, and I'm like, sit down with a real journalist, sit down with Boyce Watkins and get questioned. I mean, they are playing us like we're children. Like, oh, let's just show them we like rap. And, you know, and I respect Angela Rye and I like her. But when she asked Kamala Harris that question about who your favorite rapper alive is or who the best rapper alive is, The only thing worse than Kamala's answer of Tupac was the question. Like, I love hip hop. Hip hop is my favorite form of music to this day. But I couldn't care less who the vice president's favorite rapper is. I'm sorry. And that's how we being played. Like, we just, oh, tell us you like hip hop. Tell us you like sports. Tell us you like Black people. And we go and we fall in hook, line, and sinker for it. And it's just disappointing, man.
Well, everybody, first of all, I want to say, I want to let you all know, if you just came in, who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the one and only Chris Broussard, and you can instantly see why I was very happy to bring him in. This brother keeps it 100, and I respect him for that. Also, could you do this as you come in? Please hit the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up, share, and subscribe button. Don't forget that this weekend is the All Black National Convention. If you be one, all black, no corporate sponsorship, no political party sponsorship. We go all weekend, panels on all different kinds of topics. So if you'd like to get your passes, go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. Now, Chris, I want to mention to you, the only reason I didn't invite you to the convention is because I wanted to give time for a lot of the other voices in the community to speak. I want to talk to you one-on-one. So this is like an extension of the convention because—
Oh, man, look, I'm fully supportive, bro. You got some great people there. I'll be watching. And I think next year, right, it's in New York.
Yeah.
So I live in Jersey, so I'm gonna try to be there in person next year. So yeah, I love what you're doing with that, man. It's great.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I you know, like you fit the perfect demographic because I want everybody to just kind of take a moment and reflect on this. And you're a part of this. Everybody listening, you're a part of this. Like, I want you to do something. Share this link. You know, share the message. You know, like, everybody know this is a basketball team where nobody gets to sit on the bench. Everybody, you can box out, you can get a rebound, you can play some defense. You know, you ain't got to always take the shot, but don't just sit there and watch. You got to get in the game, right? So share this link because here's the deal. We're in a battle. We're in a war right now. You know, and I think most conscious Black people, and I'm gonna pass the ball to you, Chris, in a minute, and in 1 second. Most conscious Black people know that the Black man is kind of born in the middle of warfare, you know, all the way from before you're born with the whole Margaret Sanger Planned Parenthood phenomenon, right? So you know, when you're in the middle of a war, you have to be strategic. You need different kinds of leadership. Masculine leadership is a very important component of that. And I will say this, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, man. You know, when I did talk to Q recently, I said, you know, I think that what's really happening here, and the reason that the Democratic Party is so offended by the idea of Cube and his team and all the brothers kind of speaking up, is this is an issue about they're concerned about dealing with the Black male. They're not accustomed to masculine leadership from the Black community. They you know when you said that they see us as children, I would also say that they see us the way a pimp sees his prostitute. You know, it's pimping 101. And there's no analogy with pimping that does not apply to what we're dealing with. And so I think they look at our community as a community with no fathers, no men. You know, Biden locked everybody up. He said it himself. He said, we got 100,000 of these predators out here born to single mothers. You know, that's you know, those are the dog whistle terms for Black men. And there's 100,000 of them. We must take them out of society. Well, they succeeded. You know, they put all the industrial might of the United States government, $10 billion, built hundreds of prisons around the country, put 100,000 cops on the street, and they effectively eliminated the Black male from the equation. So what I see going on here, and I'd love to get your take on this, because I know how you are about manhood and fatherhood and integrity, and man, that's why I think it's so great for this discussion, is I see a situation where they were accustomed to almost walking into a household where the father's not there. You know, when the daddy ain't home, the predators can get away with anything. You know, imagine R. Kelly walking into somebody's house and there's no daddy there, right? He can sweet talk to mama, sing to her a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he's eyeballing the daughter. You know, he's saying all the right things, going to church with him and everything. But they don't understand that the predator's in the house. But when daddy comes home, the conversation shifts. Right, daddy will see, if he's smart, he sees through all of that because he knows he's the protector. He must be the provider, leader, strategic thinker of the household. So he's going to see things other people won't see. So when I look at what's going on right now with the Black community, with Black men stepping up in the middle of everything, almost like raining on people's parade, you know, right. It's like daddy's home. You know, the black male is not sitting on the sideline anymore. And you're not going to pimp us like little children. You're not going to tell us to get our booties to the polls. You're not going to, that stupid little ad. You're not going to, slick talk us. You're not going to just be able to say, you go vote, show up and vote. If you don't vote, you don't count. Because men don't respond well to that. We will challenge you back. And I don't think they like that. Can you speak to that in terms of what you see, as a black man?
Man, yeah, I think first of all, you hit it on the head, and this really is becoming like if Biden doesn't win, you can see it now. They're kind of setting the black man up as the scapegoat, and it is sad that black people who are in the sold out to the Democratic Party, whether male or female, are playing into it. And they will go against, say, a person like Ice Cube, who has shown for decades that he's down for our people. And they'll go against him for the benevolent slave master. And obviously we're not in slavery, but I'm going to use those metaphors a little bit, because the Democrats are just giving us crumbs to sustain us, not to empower us, just to keep us going. I'll admit they do some programs in the hood and stuff that we help us right now. And the Republicans take some of that away. But that's just to sustain us, to keep us surviving, not to help us thrive and be empowered. And that's really what the contract with Black America is calling for, is real legitimate empowerment. But I think that this is so deep, Boyce, because a lot of it is that, and if you look at let's call it the Black Lives Matter, this whole revolutionary movement, right? At this point in time, it is being led for the most part by women and gay men, for the most part. There are some heterosexual men here and there, but for the most part, it's women and gay men. And not that they shouldn't have a voice, but the absence of black male heterosexual leadership in this movement is not only stunning and telling, but it is, I'm trying to look for the word, it is a complete negative. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the Black Lives Matter website, before, like within the last month, a month ago, they took down their plan for, destroying the nuclear family and, all that stuff. But I got to go there because obviously they believed it.
Yes.
First of all, their ideal situation for what they said, right, was we want to dismantle the nuclear family, and we want to raise children in villages of apparently, lesbians, transgenders, gay men, that's what they said. Mothers, parents, they use the word parents, they use the word fathers, but that's what they're envisioning. Think about that. So that's their ideal. The only way that could work is if the black man remains disenfranchised. If the black man remains at the bottom, if the black man remains locked up, unemployed, unable to take care of his own children. Because where are a group of lesbians, transgenders, and gays going to get children from? Where are they going to get kids from? If the black man, or any man for that matter, is in his right mind and is empowered and is taking care of business, he raising his own kids. He ain't letting you come in and raise his kids. He ain't. But if he's disenfranchised, if he's like we are today, then he's not raising his kids. He's leaving them with the mother, the baby's mama. He's, giving them up to foster care or adoption. And that's where they would get their children from in their ideal situation. So written into their agenda was the disenfranchisement of black heterosexual males. Yes. That's number one. Number two, they said, we want to destroy the Western prescribed nuclear family. First of all, that's white supremacy right there, because that is disrespecting and disregarding black history. Because if you really know black history, you'll know that the nuclear family is not Western, or that's a term for European. It's not. Egypt is the greatest civilization on earth next to America. It was African, and it was based on the nuclear family. And if you believe the Bible, as I do, it talks about the first human beings, Adam and Eve, in Africa. The Bible says the Garden of Eden encompassed the whole land of Ethiopia. That was a nuclear family. That was the birth of the nuclear family. And even in places where in Asia and Africa, where the extended family is the norm, those extended families, the root of them was the nuclear family. The extended family was just like me and my wife and kids living with my parents and brothers, you know, and then our children, when they get married, they live with us. Like, that was a village, but notice the root of all that was the nuclear family. And so I don't care what the Democrats, the Republicans, or America in general gives to Black people. If we don't get our family situation in order, led by heterosexual men, it ain't gonna matter.
No.
And so we have to, that's why part of our neo-reconstruction was we had an addendum about empowering Black men to take our rightful place in our families. And so that is part and parcel to any Black revolution. Martin knew it, Malcolm knew it, all of our great freedom fighters in the past have known it. And today, like you said, the Democratic Party, because we know Black Lives Matter is an arm of that, they're just disregarding Black heterosexual men. And I do think that's why you see brothers like rising up and being like, yo, what about us? And here's the last thing about that, because I know a lot of brothers that are active in the fatherhood movement. And you remember, Boyce, like 2 decades ago, I mean, the fatherhood movement was huge, right? Among our people in the 90s, early 2000s, like it was getting government funding, all that. And I still think it does get some government funding. But since, you know, now you've got same-sex marriage, that is really saying you don't necessarily need the man, the father. And I know that the fatherhood movement it's not where it used to be, because there's a large portion of, you know, people that feel like, well, you don't need the father. If you got 2 mothers who are stable and they're doing well, you really don't literally need him. And that seems to be some of the feeling that the Democratic Party has, that, well, and look, and I must say this, I think Black women, and some of it, a lot of it's our fault too, as Black men. We got to step up. Obviously, systemically, the society has, you know, put all types of obstacles in our path, from the war on drugs, mass incarceration, you know, unemployment, bad education, all that stuff that works against us. And then we got to take our own responsibility to take our rightful place. And I do think that this is part of it too, Boyce. Black women, unfortunately, feel like they can't count on us. Like this, some of their attitude might be, it might not be, man, you know, forget them brothers. It might just be a realization of, you know what? The Black man ain't doing nothing. The Black man can't protect us. The Black man can't provide for us. So we got to do it ourselves. We got, maybe that's what they're thinking when they talk about the village. You know, look, they done, and here's the other thing, a lot of sisters, Boyce, are bitter toward Black men. And we know that historically that was a plan of white America to have us at odds from slavery on up. And we are at odds. And a lot of sisters, let's just keep it real, a lot of these sisters have been, you know, disrespected by brothers, maybe been abused by Black men. A lot of them, they may be considered unattractive by Black men. A lot of Black men, their beauty standards are light skin and straight hair, you know, and the opposite of an African American, what a natural Black person would look like, you know, in most cases. And a lot of these sisters are bitter about that. Even if they don't really consciously feel it, they, you know, and so a lot of them are like, man, forget y'all. Screw y'all. You know, and so some of it's out of hurt, pain, necessity, and maybe some of it's also out of, you know, just being played by the Democratic Party. But the Democrats are trying to play on this division in our community.
I agree, man. And by the way, everybody, this is Chris Broussard from Fox Sports, and he's a real smart brother. And we're talking about the rise of the black man during this 2020 election. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button right now. Also, don't forget the All Black National Convention is this weekend. I will remind you guys of that. And also, you should follow Chris on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, man?
Chris_Broussard.
Chris_Broussard. You should follow him. You can tell he's a man of integrity. He believes what he says, and that's why I'm glad to have him here. And you know, let me just say this, man. I'm gonna jump on what. First of all, I'm gonna ask the audience, everybody watching, give me a yes or no. This is the thing that I think will unify us. Do you think that the family needs the black man? Are black men important in the black family? If you answer yes, then this is the right place for you. If you say no or maybe, then you need to go sit up under Joe Biden. Maybe you can go massage his balls or something, because this ain't what we do over here. This is not how we live. You know, we believe that the black man matters. You know, I can't imagine raising my children without their mother. I can't. There's no day where I could ever walk in and say, you know, I can be the man and the woman. I can have a penis and a vagina. I can breastfeed. If she can do it, I can do it. You know, I can nurture you just like your mama. I can teach your mama I can teach you how to do your hair or wear a tampon. I can't do those things. That would be crazy for me to say that. It would be insane for me to think. I mean, it would be ridiculous, almost hilarious for me to think that I could replace their mother, and that they wouldn't grow up incredibly imbalanced if I tried to do that. If I tried to be the mother, and I mean, God forbid, if something happened to their mother, I'd have to find another role model to fill that spot. You know, I couldn't just say, well, I got this. You know, send me a Mama's Day card because I can be the mother too. That's insanity, right? So if it's insanity for me to say that about their mother, then it would be insanity for her to say that about me. You know, black men matter. Black men matter. And to your point, you are right. You know, there are, you and I both have spoken up in terms of dealing with basically talking to men about manning up. We live in a society where everything that we're hearing in mainstream media is in contrast to that. You know, it's an anti-masculinity kind of environment. We have a feminized society. That's what it is. You know, they say the war on women is over and women won, right? And it's okay, right? There's a lot of ground that needs to be made up, a lot of mistreatment of women that's occurred in the past. I want to atone for that, you know, but the thing about it is that there aren't many spaces where the men are pushed in a position to take charge. Also, when you talk about, you know, how white supremacy kind of did that number and really chopped off the head of the community by basically going into the communities and locking up all the alpha males, which isn't something that they just started doing. They did that during slavery. They did it in slavery, right? Because how can you enslave a community when you don't kill off the freedom fighters and the strongest? You got to take the strong ones out first. That's what you do. When one village, 10,000 years ago, when one village conquered another village, first thing they did was they killed the strongest men and the smartest men, right? Yeah. And then they would rape the women and enslave the children, right? And that's a formula that's been used all throughout the world, and it's still used to this day. So I think that at that point, it's a matter of black men. I like what's going on right now, man, because I like the fact that we're doing what we're told to do in books like Powernomics. In Powernomics, first thing Dr. Anderson does is he defines power. He says power is the ability to pursue your agenda despite the opposition of others, right? That means you don't need a permission slip. You're not asking for people to cheer you on. You don't need white folks to start talking about it and say it's okay for you to move forward, and you just do it, right? So what I like about what Ice Cube is doing, I give him all the credit in the world, because he's got millions of people that follow him. I have a few 100,000. I don't have millions. You know, you've got millions too. I seen your Twitter, man. And when guys like you really represent, I like the fact that it's a natural friction that must occur in a world that is built on competition. And I really think that the where we understand this most, or the best way to understand the world, or one great way to understand the world, at least for me, was through sports. You know, in sports, you know, we talk about something like white supremacy, right? A lot of people talk about white supremacy in the context of, you know, okay, these white people think they're better than me, and that offends me that you think I'm better than me. Well, in the world of sports, when the Lakers were going to play against the Heat in the finals, you know, I'm sure if you ask a player on the Heat, who's the better team, the Heat player is going to say the Miami Heat, right? But now, were the Lakers offended? Did they say, "Oh, you've got Heat supremacy. We're offended. Stop it. Just stop it." No, they said, "Okay, well, we're going to settle this on the court. We'll see who's superior once we go head to head. You settle it on the field." So I think that for the black man, you know, when you talk about this thing called white supremacy most of the time is not, to me, dangerous when a white man thinks he's better than me. If he can think whatever he wants, I'm going to show him what the truth actually is. Right. But if I buckle and back down, then that is in contradiction to the man that I believe God meant for me to be. You know, that's what a man does. A man's supposed to go and just take what he wants and doesn't care if you get offended. You know, as long as you ain't violating people and doing nothing illegal, you go in there and you fight for it, right? So I like this because they're seeing black men fighting back. And of course they're going to be offended because they're thinking, man, we can't control this community if all their smartest, brightest, baddest men are stepping up. And what's also awesome, man, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this, this was always a dream of mine, man. You know, like Dr. King had his dream. One of my dreams was, I said, it would be so cool if you had all the rappers and athletes, you know, who have, you know, millions of dollars and massive platforms and everything else, and they start talking to the smartest people in the community, right? So, and I saw this happening when we would get guys like, Louis Farrakhan. Like I remember they reached out and they were about getting Farrakhan on the Breakfast Club. I said, ooh, whatever white man's in charge over there, I said, if I was him, I would not let this happen because he's going to unleash the beast of the black man. Because the black man, we're the original man. We're the strongest, most amazing men on the planet, and not just black men, but I'm talking about African-American males. Look at what we went through in order to get here. Like, think about it. There is no white version of a LeBron James. You know what I mean? There's never been a white version of a Shaquille O'Neal. Like that, to me, that amazing, extraordinary strength, survivability, whatever you want to call it, physical and mental, comes from what we've gone through. You know, we survived the Middle Passage. We survived the slave dungeons. We survived mass incarceration. We survived Jim Crow. So long story short, man, I think that that this is really an amazing awakening period. And I think that we should just, you know, not worry about what people think. You just continue to move forward, and eventually they'll come to accept it. Just like eventually the Miami Heat had to eventually concede that the Lakers were the better team in the NBA Finals. What are your thoughts on what I just said? I'm not even going to ask you a question. I'm sure you got something to say.
Now you dropped so many jewels in there, man. First, let me go back to, you talked about the necessity of the man. And some people might try to write that off as, well, that's religion. You know, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Hebrew, you know, that's just religion. No, it's religion too, but it's biology. You know, if me and my wife make a child or children, then biology and nature tells you me and my wife should raise it, period. That's just biology. That's human nature. It's not just religious. So even if you're not religious, that's the man and the woman together should raise the children. You know, so that's number one. And I don't, you know, we've always heard this term, it takes a village to raise a child. And we, of course, we want the village. The village is the support system, the school, the, you know, neighborhood, things like that. The village, though, is secondary. The primary responsibility is me and my wife raising the children. And so that's, we need to get to that, number one. Secondly, I'm glad you brought up the whole, it's almost like this ghost of white supremacy now. And obviously whites have tried to put that on us. But if you look at a lot of the talk now regarding racism and white supremacy, Boyce, and a lot of it coming from white females, they are now kind of writing books and teaching classes and saying, look, all white people are racist, right? All white people are racist, and all you can do is accept it and accept your white privilege and try to work your way through it. Listen to Black people, maybe do some reading, but work your way through it. It'll take a lifetime. You'll never fully get over it, but you just become conscious of your racism and your white privilege. That's what they're saying. There's no answer in that. The answer, that does nothing, right? And look, the human condition, Boyce, is that we all have our biases, right? Black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian, we got our biases. And like you said, I like Black culture. I like it better than white culture. You know, I'm sure a lot of white people like white culture better than Black culture. Like, we got our natural biases, and that's fine, okay? But this whole touchy-feely, we gotta just recognize you're racist. And you know, if you're in an elevator and a Black man steps in and you feel like a little bit scared, oh my gosh, I'm racist, I can't believe I couldn't care less about that. I don't care if a white person don't like me. I don't care if they don't like me because I'm Black. I care when you have the power to hinder or ruin my life. And so what we were saying in Neo-Reconstruction and what Ice Cube saying in the contract with Black America is give us the resources and capital that so we can competently compete as a people, not just individually, as a people in a capitalistic society. And we're not saying, oh, just give us a handout. Number one, our ancestors obviously earned it. They built this country. Number two, you gave the same resources and capital to white people, including millions of European immigrants, to set them on their right footing in this country. Whether it was the Homestead Act, you know, that gave them 270 million acres of land west of the Mississippi to 1.5 million whites, did the same thing in the South with the Southern Homestead Act, whether it was the GI Bill after World War II for those 12 years that was administered racially and didn't get to many Blacks, whether it was the Federal Housing Administration loans from the 1930s to the 1960s that built the white suburbs and at the same time devalued through redlining the Black neighborhoods. Like, you have given whites handout after handout after handout to make sure they can compete in this capitalistic society. And we're saying, just like Martin Luther King said shortly before he died, we coming to get our check. Yep. That's what he said. He was way beyond I have a dream, as great as that was, right? He was saying, we cut the check. And we're saying, we got to give us the resources and capital we need, and then we'll build up ourselves in this capitalistic community, this society. And that's when we can move past this whole racial issue. And so, yeah, man, I'm glad brothers are stepping up, but I keep sounding the alarm. Regardless of who wins this election, we as Black men have got to do whatever we can legally to step up and take our rightful place in our families and in our communities, because nothing's going to happen positive for our people without our presence, just like nothing will happen positive without the presence of the Black woman.
Right on, right on. Everybody in the chat, I want you to type hashtag cut the check. Cut the check. You know, I use that Joe Pesci phrase from Goodfellas, you know, if you pay me. I'm trying not to cuss so much. I'm trying to detox. I got it from my daddy. And I know you're a man of faith, so I'm gonna try not to. but seriously, like, if you pay me, cut the check. Everybody type hashtag cut the check. Like, I don't care what you think about me. Cut the check. Like me or not, it don't matter.
Right,
cut the check.
right.
Right. If you can't cut the check.
We're caught up in wanting to be liked. Mm-hmm. Bill Clinton, we called him what, the first Black president, because I do think he was genuinely comfortable around Black people. Like, he generally was cool with us. But in turn, what did he do? He locked up more black men than any other president in history. Yeah. And Joe Biden is saying, I like you. I like you. Look, I got a black vice president. And we're just glossing completely over the crime bill, right? We're just glossing fully over that he locked up all these black men and fueled the destruction of the black family for one entire generation. It was already in motion, but he took it to, you know, another level. And we're just looking over that because he seemed like he's gonna like us. Yeah. And we gotta, it's about, look, because here's the thing, and I want to say this when people jumped on Cube for he hasn't even met with Trump, but, you know, meeting with his people, Trump's people.
Right.
Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, and Muhammad Ali, three of the fiercest champions for black people we've ever had, met with the Ku Klux Klan. So you gonna cancel them? You gonna cancel them? And then here's the other lesson we need to learn. Lyndon Johnson, who enacted the most progressive policies for black Americans since Reconstruction, the civil rights bills, the voting rights bills, and he started affirmative action. He was an avowed racist. Everybody knew it. He called the civil rights bills the nigger bills. Here's what he called them. But yet he enacted this legislation that really helped us, you know, as a people. And so why'd he do it? Because he felt the heat. He was pressured. Because Malcolm X was saying, y'all a bunch of political chumps. The Democrats just play y'all as chumps. And he was saying it just based on 4 years. Now we've had how many years? 60 years of just totally blindly following the Democratic Party. And we being played like chumps. And Lyndon Johnson saw that and feared that that might affect the black vote, what Malcolm was saying. And he enacted these civil rights acts, voting rights act, and affirmative action. And so he didn't like us. I don't think, I mean, the way he talked and all that, he didn't like us. So it's not about being liked, it's about demanding, that's politics, demanding what we deserve. And I hear people say, well, and they, look, I don't know, Trump, I'm not gonna vouch for his character one iota. So he maybe wouldn't do the 500 billion, right? Or the platinum plan. But I hear blacks saying, well, he's just doing that to get our vote. Yes! I mean, that's what, right? Like, come on, that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, so it's just, we just being emotional about this situation to a point where I don't think we look at, sometimes some of us aren't looking at things logically.
Well, man, it's like if you run a store, if you have a department store and somebody comes in your store and you give them a product and they give you money. Imagine if your friend said, he's not giving you that money because he likes you. He's only giving you that money because you gave him a product. How stupid would that sound? If you wasn't giving him eggs and milk and chicken, he wouldn't give you that $15. He ain't. Well, why else would he give me money if I wasn't giving him something in exchange? Absolutely. It's real weird. It's it's really we think deeply about this self-esteem issue. I mean, that's really what you're talking about, right? You're talking about a self-esteem issue where you got people in the community who need to be told by white people that we are okay. You know, like that is, and really that is a type of white supremacy where we look up to them almost like older siblings or like our parents. Like I need you to approve of me. I need you to tell me that I'm okay. Tell me I'm a good person. Tell me I'm a successful Negro. And then I'm going to feel better about myself because before you came along, I was just a black man, which means I was nothing, right? So I think that in order for us to really fight for what we want, fighting and going to war, you remember we talked earlier about this being war, that demands a certain amount of self-esteem. You know, like if I'm trying, you know, because going back to sports, if I'm playing against the Lakers and trying to beat the Lakers, I can't be on the court asking LeBron for his autograph. You know, I can't like, how you doing, sir? I'm your biggest fan. And it really meant a lot when you told me to have a good jump shot like that. You don't do that. You don't do that. You know, you got, if you can't see yourself as capable of defeating the opponent, then you'll never do that. Right. So I think also another thing that's interesting as well, to your point, is you know, we get deeply caught up, you know, in the political space, in what we think other people think about us. And so if we catch somebody making a racial slur, like, oh, you know, he said the N-word, or he said whatever. So we have this really strong visceral reaction, almost to the point where it discredits anything that person could do with us, for us. Like, it's like you're now banished as a bad person. Any black person who talks to you or works with you is aligning with white supremacy. But I want you to reverse the roles, right? Now, when we're sitting around talking to other black people, think about how much crazy stuff we say about white people when they ain't looking. Yep. You know, seriously, it ain't even just white people. I've been around black people who talk bad about white people, Asian people, Jewish people, like all kinds of people. So what if what if your boss, and think about this, you did it, you know, again, because you've said terrible things about white people at the dinner table, you know, all y'all have, stop lying, right? What if your boss overheard what you said, and somebody said, you know, he should be fired because he clearly hates white people, he's clearly a racist, right? It would be ridiculous, right? Because you would say, no, that has nothing to do with my ability to do this job. I may not like the guy, but I don't dislike everything. I don't hate him, you know, like I still want to work at UPS or whatever, right? That's what we do. We talk crazy about white folks, then we will go give them our lives. Like we will give, you know, 100,000 hours of labor across a lifetime, 40 hours a week, you know what I mean, for 40 years to people that we will talk crazy about every single day of the week. So my point on this is to say that I think we got to get past the emotional side of politics, in the sense of getting caught up in whether or not we think somebody likes us. Like that, it doesn't even, it just literally matters almost not at all. In fact, actually, if you look at the real world as well, sometimes somebody who likes you can screw you over. And somebody who doesn't like you, doesn't care about you, doesn't even know you, can do right by you, depending on the situation, right? So I would personally say that I'm gonna let you get the last word on this, man, because I know you got a busy schedule. But what I really want to see as well is, I think that when you're talking about political issues, and I'm gonna shift this a little bit here. You mentioned earlier that police brutality isn't the only thing, right? Like right now, if you watch a Joe Biden ad real carefully, basically what they're offering is protection. They see black people as a wounded class, almost disabled. Like, you have no men, you have no intelligent people. So we're going to protect you. We're going to protect you from police shooting black men, which we know is important when it happens, but that's not the only issue. Also, we're going to protect you from COVID. And I think there's a couple other things, right? We might give you a job. Okay. All right. So one of the things I have an issue with that is that it seems to me that we always let others lead the conversation. Like they decide what issue matters. Like they decide that COVID is the #1 health threat to black people, even though I can name 10 things that have killed 10 times more black people. Or they decide that police shootings in a little vacuum is important, not the 100,000, 200,000 black men that have been locked up since the Biden crime bill, but that one guy who got shot that we're going to memorialize at every Black Lives Matter rally. I would like to see us actually leading the conversation, you know, meaning that if you come and tell me what you think is important, you're the one who's going to kind of decide how things happen after that. You've got me responding to you, whereas one way to assert your control and power, and again, I probably get this from sports, I get it from poker, etc., is you have to define the narrative. You got to decide what the story is going to be, what the conversation is going to be about. How do you think that going forward as black people, we can gain that ability to literally sit down with people and say, no, we know what you think that we need. We're going to tell you what we need. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Well, one, I think you're doing what you're doing. That's why it's so essential, because I mean, you have this platform that is growing by leaps and bounds, and you're reaching a lot of people. So this is, you know, I got to say this, and I'm in, you know, journalism, I'm in news, I'm in, you know, I'm in sports, but it's still news and journalism. The only news or real journalism that we get nowadays, for the most part, and it's not even fully real, but it's the closest thing to unbiased journalism, are the network news, ABC, NBC, CBS. That's the closest thing where they just give you what's happening, right? And people need to understand, and I know a lot of your viewers do, But when you watch CNN, Fox, MSNBC, that's not journalism and it's not news. It is an agenda. It is, and I know because in my field, sports, I'm on Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. I'm on, all these debate shows, First Things First with Nick Wright, and my radio show, even the Odd Couple. We're not reporting news. We're not acting as journalists on those shows. We are giving our opinion. My boy Stephen A. Smith on First Take, he's giving his opinion. And so we are pushing our opinions on those shows. And don't come to us for the hardcore news. Come to us for our opinion. If you want to get the real, what's really unobjective, or objective, unbiased news, you got to go to Sports Center or something like that. It's the same thing in the mainstream news. Don't go to CNN, Fox, or MSNBC for the news. If you want a particular spin, you can go to one of them. But if you want just what's going on in the world, you maybe BBC ABC, NBC, CBS. So people need to understand that. When you watch Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, whoever else, you're not getting news. You're not getting anything unbiased. It's a spin. And so that's the thing. So one thing, I think we need more platforms like what you're creating. And with today's technology, you can have those things. Two, I do think, like I said, Black men and women need to step up. Like, I'm so glad you brought that point up, Boyce, because I've talked with some people on the Democratic side of the whole thing. And, they got their clergy that they talk to, that they want to push them, Christian pastors, Muslim imams, and all that. And I've told them, we are the most religious people in the country, which correlates to being the most socially conservative people in the country. And yet we're consistently in the pocket of the Democratic Party, which is anything but socially conservative. And I told the person I was talking to who represents this clergy, look, you got to make sure, they need to tell the Democratic Party to make sure our religious organizations and churches and synagogues and mosques have the liberty to preach what they want from the pulpit. So if you're a Muslim imam, you can preach what the Quran says about gender and sexuality. If you're a Christian pastor, you can preach what the Bible says about gender and sexuality without any, repercussions from the government. Because I think that's where the Democrats are leaning. And I think they would go there. And that's a prime example, Boyce, of you got all these clergy siding with the Democrats, but not stepping up and saying, but hold up. Mm-hmm. We need this. You got to make sure I got my right to preach, thus saith the Lord, from my church, from my mosque, from my temple, whatever. If you ain't saying that, then what? You just a chump. Yep. I mean, really? Yep. That's supposed to be the main and most important thing to you, and you just throwing that away for the crumbs that we getting? And so we have to stand up and not look, let's keep it real. We know that white American society for 400 some odd years has been lying to us. And so now we're going to believe everything they say about all these other lifestyles. And, we just going to take that, forget what our faith says, forget what we were taught, forget what we really feel. We just going to buy into what they say. Even though they've been lying to us for 400 years, we just going to go hook, line, sinker with it. So, and this is the last thing I'd like to say. I was talking to my brother, and he was in the Nation of Islam. You mentioned Louis Farrakhan. He was in the Nation of Islam for about 8 to 10 years. Did security at the first Million Man March in '95, was really, deep in it. He's out now, been out for a while. But that shows he's a conscious brother. You know, he's a strong Black man. And I was talking to him less than 2 months ago. And I use this illustration so much, Boyce, and I heard it from Dr. Claude Anderson, the monopoly, right? The monopoly metaphor to describe the condition of Black America with the monopoly game. I think it's the greatest metaphor I've heard, you know, to describe. And when I share it with white people, you know, their eyes open, you know, and they're like, because, you know, a lot are like, well, I don't see color. And, you know, I'm, you know, in the 60s, we settled all that. And then I share with them the monopoly metaphor, and they're like, I never thought of it that way. You know what I mean? Like, it really is eye-opening. And I was talking to my brother about 6 weeks ago, and I said, and I shared with him, I said, I told him that experience with these different people and opening their eyes. And I said, we got to get this. Like, if we can just share this with whites, then they can see and understand, you know, the situation better. And then, you know, they'll be more open to something like reparations or whatever. And he said, maybe. He said, or maybe they just think we, like the monopoly metaphor, you know, for 3 hours you've been playing the game and I can't play by the same rules as you, right? So I'm way behind. He said, maybe they just like, it was your fault for playing for 3 hours, letting them take advantage of you for 3 hours, you know, and they look down on you. They think you inferior. They think you were stupid for letting yourself get in that position, right? And I was like, I had not thought of it that, but he's right. A lot of them may be like, man, they like, look, we've seen a lot of our top athletes and, you know, talk about how afraid they are, right? Of the cops and how terrified we and crying. Now, is that getting through to white people? Or are some of them, y'all so big and bad. Yo, you a great football player, but look at you. Feared, scared, crying. You know what I'm saying? That's your biggest and baddest men, crying, terrified, scared. You know, and looking down on us, thinking we're inferior. Not thinking, oh yeah, we gonna help you and be benevolent, but thinking, y'all stupid for being in the position you in. You weak for being in the position you in. And so what we can't, if we can present to them what we need you to do for us and help us, and we want them to do it, but whether they do or don't, we have to take responsibility. And just like you said, if we the Miami Heat, we got to go out there and do whatever we can to beat the Los Angeles Lakers. We can't worry about if they gonna turn the ball over, if they gonna miss shots. That's great. That helps us. Yeah, that's great. But if they don't turn the ball over, if they shoot lights out, we still got to do what we got to do to beat them.
There you go.
And so that's the attitude we have to take in this situation. Whether, you know, no matter what white America decides to do for us.
Well, I love it. I love it. Okay, so what I got out of what Chris just said, everybody, is the word for today is accountability. You know, especially for you men, accountability. Accountability means that you must believe that you have power and control over your circumstances, even when you really don't. It's not empowering to believe that you have no power. Nobody is ever empowering you by reminding you that you have no power. And you're right, Chris. I mean, if a man is crying about what another man did to him, you're basically bragging about his accomplishment. You're making him proud. You know, he's saying, look at you crying like a little punk. And if you keep messing up, I'm gonna make you cry some more. Right. Crying does not back the bully off. Crying only emboldens the bully. right? We know this, right? So I agree with you 100%, man. I think the points you made were excellent. And everybody, I want you, if you could, please take a second and give this brother a digital round of applause. Just put a thank you in the chat for what Chris is doing. This is Chris Broussard from Fox Sports, and he does a lot of other really good work. Tell me about that organization. They had the word, it was King.
Yeah. I lead an organization, a men's movement called the King Movement, which stands for Knowledge, Inspiration, and Nurture Through God. It's a national Christian men's movement built to strengthen men in their daily walks with Christ, so we can be the husbands, fathers, leaders, citizens, role models that God created us to be. Anybody interested, you can check it out at kingmovement.com or email us at king@kingmovement.com. So yeah, and like we've been talking, we are about masculine leadership. You know, men taking their place in their rightful place in our families, in our communities, right next to our women. You know, we're not obviously not anti-women or anything. Like, my wife's a medical doctor. My daughters are, you know, highly educated college graduates. So we are empowering our women and supporting them, but we're also saying men need to step up and we got to do what God created us to do.
There you go. That's right. So kingmovement.com, correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And also on Instagram
The King Movement, at thekingmovement.com or at the King Movement is where you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, same thing. Yeah.
Right. All right. So everybody in here, let's thank Chris Broussard. Give him a digital round of applause. Do me a favor, guys, hit the thumbs up button, and also to pitch a hand into what we're trying to do. You guys are our distribution network. You know, we don't have billions of dollars, but we have you, which is worth trillions of dollars. So all we need you guys to do is give a verbal commitment that you're going to take the link to this video and put it on your Facebook, share it somewhere. If you could, just share it on your Twitter, wherever you can. Give me a yes if you can do that. Because as you know, we need our community back, and we are taking control. You are watching the takeover as it's happening. You are a part of the revolution that will be discussed for the next 100 years. So give yourselves a pat on the back, because we shown up and we ain't going away. We ain't going nowhere. All right, guys. So everybody, thank you guys for hanging out with us, and don't forget, All Black National Convention starts on Friday. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. allblacknationalconvention.com. And thanks a lot, Chris, man. I really appreciate this, brother. Thank you. All right,
brother. We'll talk soon, man.
All right. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. All right, everybody. Have a good day. See you soon, man. All right.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce.